When it comes to cool, never before seen products that work well, I react anywhere from interested to excited. It's a really wonderful feeling to see a product that's so cool and so innovative because it just makes you think about all the possible usage cases it could help you with and how convenient it would have been before. For example, modern touchscreen smartphones. These kinds of phones kind of took off after the first gen iPhone was released in 2007. Before that iPhone was released, phones were typically a little clunky and had limited features. Yes, they had cameras, yes, they were improving their ability to connect, but they still couldn't get rid of their somewhat inconvenient keyboard buttons. Some of them did rely on something called a stylus for making precise touches on the screen, but it was still kind of cumbersome, not accounting for the risk of irresponsibly losing it. When the iPhone was introduced with its multi-touch screen, it kind of disrupted the market, and the rest is history. Another example, more recently, ChatGPT took the internet by storm with its human-like responses to any question you ask of it. Okay, so the products I'm going to speak about here probably won't match the magnitude of the examples I mentioned. But I wanted to tell you about those just to capture how I felt about these cool things I'm going to talk about. With that being said, let's move on. My first thing is a magnetically levitating globe. The science behind it is a little intricate, but it's basically a globe that floats from some alternating magnets inside an anchor that the globe is kept in, which can be C-shaped or a flat plane. I once got one of these when I was 8 to 9, and well, I didn't know how to set it up properly, so my mom did it for me. When I first saw the globe floating, I was pretty amazed to say the least, obviously because I wasn't used to seeing solid things just float like that. Also, have you ever seen a globe where the bracket didn't just cut through the North Pole and Antarctica? No, please don't mention something like Google Maps or Google Earth. Anyways, if you want one, I think you can still find these guys in some online stores. The next two favorite things will be about smartphones, so yeah, just a heads up, they'll be about smartphones. This phone I'd like to speak about is the Samsung Galaxy K Zoom, released in June of 2014. Now, the picture of it over here probably looks like a well-done Photoshop job, but it's not. This was an actual phone from Samsung Electronics where they attempted to integrate the features of a professional camera onto a phone. It had a big LED on the back and, more notably, a zoom lens that could pop out in a satisfying manner. From what I remember, my mom originally purchased it for herself and then gave it to me after a while when I was 9. But then it kinda disappeared from my life shortly after. Still not sure what happened. I should mention that the K-Zoom did have quite a few compromises. It was bulky because of the room inside the phone needed for the lens. The pictures it took weren't that better than Samsung's normal flagship phones at the time, and the display sucked a little. Meanwhile, the phone industry was headed for making phones thin and easy to hold, which people seem to like more. So the K-Zoom wasn't very popular, and that's why modern phones use multiple separate lenses instead of one large lens with multiple focal lengths. If you even understand what I just said. Now, in stark contrast, the next phone I'll speak of was a very popular one that you probably know about, especially if you're a tech enthusiast. The iPhone X, released in November 2017. I'll literally scold the life out of you if you dare call it the iPhone X. I like this phone particularly because of the leapfrog features it popularized, like its Face ID feature where you could unlock it with your face. While it was not technically a new feature, some Android phones did have a face unlock feature since 2011, it kind of functioned better. I'm not an Apple fanboy, by the way, I swear. Why do I say it functioned better? Well, there's a multitude of technical reasons I could go over, but I'm not gonna do that. Of course, the phone did have its fair share of criticism. The screen design looked very unusual and weird at the time with a notch at the top. Apple managed to tweak their iOS interface to fit it and got some apps to work about with the notch, but there was still plenty of apps that had to get left in a small space of the screen to be used, which looked very unappealing. And if you wanted to watch a movie, you'd have to get used to the notch obstructing a small part on one side. The obstruction problem is still kind of there on the 14 and 15 lineup with their dynamic island, and I've already seen some Android phones finally get rid of the notch or the hole punch camera or whatever was obstructing the screen. So, yeah, we'll see if Apple eventually catches up. Now, moving on to the final one, I'm gonna talk about something more generally. Drones. If you use them safely, they're awesome. You get to see a bird's eye view of a place you're at. You can capture amazing shots midair if they have a camera on them. You can lose control of them and have them land on the ground from 30 meters up, risking someone's injury. Oh wait, that's not a benefit, is it? Basically, they're cool to me, although they weren't that present throughout my life. I have a very vague memory of me getting a white toy drone helicopter thing and how me and some of my family decided to fly it outside. Some of us test flighted it and it actually seemed kinda hard to control. Then I got a hand at the controller and flew it just low off the ground a couple of times. And then I finally decided to take it up high, which was kind of a big mistake. When I took it up, it went in some direction, and despite my attempts at reversing it, it didn't come back. If anything, it wasn't changing direction at all, and it was headed towards an apartment complex building. So now we had this situation where the white drone was stuck going one direction and was on the verge of scratching against an innocent person's window who lived on the 5th floor of one of our apartment complex buildings. So I think I quickly turned the controller off, which stopped signaling it, and then it started falling. What happened to it after isn't known by me, but I can confidently say no one got hurt. So if you're the police or something watching this, no need to question me. The next time I had a drone was my 13th birthday, since I wanted to take photos with it and stuff. But its camera quality was terrible, and it was still hard to control directions for some reason, and it was kind of dependent on a poorly made phone app. So I stopped using it the same day I got it. Sorry, Mom. Despite these incidents, I still hope I can someday own a maneuverable drone, taking fine quality photos and looking down on my place, because I actually really like bird's eye views. This script is getting a bit too long, so I might as well stop here. All I can say is everyone has their cool tech preferences, and I've just showed you mine. And I hope I've proven that every product is unique in some way with this list. Hey, so today I normally say something for this outro, but now I honestly don't really care anymore. Today I tried rushing this video out because I was almost done with it. I actually started this video in March, but there was a multitude of reasons that got it being dragged on. First, the lip sync layer made the program lag, so that's one thing. And also there were a bunch of... Yeah, you can also blame school for continuous tests and whatnot. And maybe a little bit of laziness, unfortunately. So, yeah, now all I have to do is just put up the fan art board, and that's it.